همه شهدای هوافضا.
Four missiles, not dozens, not hundreds, just four. And yet, sirens cut across Tel Aviv, and Haifa follows seconds later. This wasn't saturation, it wasn't a swarm. It was something more precise, more deliberate, because when only a few missiles are launched, every single one carries a message. Timing matters, targeting matters, choice of cities matters. Tel Aviv, economic nerve center. Haifa, strategic port, industrial backbone, two cities, two signals. And here's the part most people miss. When the number is small, the intention is usually bigger, so the real question is not what was hit, but why only four and why these targets? This didn't start with four missiles. It never does. For years, Iran and Israel have been in conflict, but not openly, not directly. A shadow war, covert strikes, cyber attacks, proxy battles across borders, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, different locations, same rivalry. Israel targets Iranian positions in Syria. Iran builds influence through allied groups. No formal declaration, no full-scale war. Just pressure, managed, calculated, contained, until containment begins to crack. Tensions rise through a series of events. Targeted assassinations, airstrikes on strategic assets, disruptions in supply lines, each side testing limits, pushing, then pulling back. But over time, the distance between action and reaction shrinks. What used to take months now happens in days, sometimes hours, and then comes the shift from indirect confrontation to signals of direct engagement. Missiles launched from distance, drones crossing borders, air defenses activated in real time. The battlefield is no longer hidden. It becomes visible, audible, immediate, and escalation takes on a new form. Not full war, but no longer deniable. Each action now carries attribution, each strike a statement. So when four missiles are launched, they are not isolated. They are the result of a long chain. Years of shadow conflict, months of rising tension, days of compressed decisions. Which brings us back to the present moment. Four missiles, two cities, not the beginning, but a signal that the rules of engagement have changed. Four missiles, but not identical, because in modern warfare, variation is not sluchinist, it's design. Each missile type carries a different purpose, a different message. First, Sagil, solid fuel ballistic missile, fast, extremely fast, Mach 11 or more. No long preparation, no visible fueling phase. It launches, and within minutes, it's already descending. This is a time weapon, not just destructive, but psychological. Because when impact comes in under 10 minutes, decision-making collapses. Second, Khorramshahr 4, heavy payload, up to 2 tons of warhead. This is not about speed alone. This is about impact. One strike can damage structures, trigger secondary explosions, and overwhelm localized defenses. If Sagil compresses time, Khorramshahr amplifies consequence. Third, precision-guided medium-range missile, less discussed, but critical. Designed for accuracy, targeting infrastructure, specific coordinates. This is where intent becomes clearer, because precision means selection, not random. Chosen. Fourth, drone-integrated strike system. Not always counted as a missile, but functionally part of the same wave. Drones enter first, slower, cheaper. Their role, confuse radar, force early interception, drain attention, then the missiles follow. This is sequencing, not coincidence. Low-cost pressure, followed by high-speed threat, then heavy impact. 4 systems, working together. So again, This was not about quantity, it was about composition. Because when different weapons arrive in one coordinated window, they don't just attack targets, they test systems. They probe weaknesses, they measure response time, and more importantly, they send a layered message. We can hit fast, we can hit hard, we can hit precisely, and we can make you react before you even understand what's coming. So the question shifts again, not how many missiles were launched, but what exactly was being tested in those few minutes over Tel Aviv and Haifa. Four missiles in the sky means one thing on the ground: activation. Israel's defense is not a single shield. It's a system of layers, each layer designed for a different threat, different altitude, different speed, different timing. First layer, Iron Dome, the most visible, the most known, designed for short-range threats, rockets, artillery, low altitude, predictable paths. It calculates trajectory in seconds. If the projectile threatens a populated area, interception is launched. If not, it lets it fall. Efficient, selective, but not built for everything, because when speed increases, reaction time shrinks. And that's where the next layer comes in. Second layer, David's Sling. Less talked about, but critical. Designed for medium-range missiles, more complex trajectories, higher speeds. It fills the gap between Iron Dome and long-range systems, but even this layer has limits, which brings us higher. Third layer, Arrow System, Arrow 2, and more advanced. Arrow 3, also known as HETS 3. This is not just interception, this is exo-atmospheric defense, meaning it intercepts threats outside Earth's atmosphere before they even begin descent. Arrow 3 is designed for ballistic missiles like Segil, high speed, long range, strategic threat. Interception happens in space. Distance becomes the advantage, because the earlier you intercept, the less damage on the ground. But here's the reality. Even a layered system has pressure points. Multiple threats arriving in sequence. Forced decisions. Which layer engages first? Which target is prioritized? Which interceptor is worth launching? Because every interception costs. Missiles in the air are not just threats, they are calculations. And when different types arrive together, fast, heavy, precise, the system is no longer just defending. It is choosing what to stop, what to risk, what to let through. So when 4 missiles are launched, the real test is not just impact, it's coordination. Between layers, between seconds, between decisions made under pressure. And that leads to the next question. What actually happened on the ground after those decisions were made? Sirens fade. Interceptors detonate mid-air. For a moment, it looks controlled, contained. But air defense does not erase impact. It redistributes it. Fragments fall, debris spreads, shock waves travel, and not everything is intercepted. Some objects pass through, some arrive with reduced force, but still enough. Now the ground tells a different story. A section of Tel Aviv. Windows shattered across multiple blocks, not a direct hit, but pressure from nearby interception. In Haifa, emergency crews moved toward an industrial zone. Fire, contained, but not immediate. Electricity disruptions in localized areas. Temporary blackouts, short-lived, but enough to create confusion. Traffic stops. People move without coordination. Sirens return, not because of new strikes, but because of uncertainty. And this is where reality becomes fragmented. Official reports, limited, controlled. Media access, restricted near impact zones. So what the world sees is partial. Short clips, distant angles, moments without context. But on the ground, experience is continuous. People don't measure damage in confirmed hits. They measure it in seconds, how fast they ran, how close the sound was, how long the silence lasted after. A family in Tel Aviv remains inside a shelter minutes after the alert ends, not because they are told to, but because they are unsure. In Haifa, workers stand outside a facility watching smoke rise in the distance. No clear information, only assumption, and this is the outcome of a limited strike. Not mass destruction, not total collapse, but disruption, psychological pressure, a shift in routine, because when strikes are few, but precise, the message is not chaos. It is control. Control over timing, over location, over reaction, and more importantly, over perception. So again, the question is not how much was destroyed, but what changed in the minds of those who experienced it. 4 missiles, limited in number, but not in meaning. This was not escalation without direction. It was calibration, a test of systems, a signal of capability, a demonstration of timing. Israel's defenses responded, but response is not the same as immunity, because modern war is no longer about total destruction. It's about pressure, sustained, measured, repeated. And when even a small number of strikes can disrupt routine, trigger fear, and force constant readiness, then the battlefield has already expanded, not just in the sky, but in the mind. So the real takeaway is simple. This wasn't about 4 missiles. It was about proving that even a few are enough to change the equation. I'll see you in the next analysis.